Observing the pilot in December at ECI in Islamabad, while clinging to my assumptions about financial literacy being one of the necessary ingredients for successful, sustainable development work, I was literally moved to tears to have witnessed the delivery of probably the best financial literacy course for clients that I have ever seen. With the results of accomplishment, astonishment, and hope for the future clearly on the faces of the participants at the end of the day. I felt the sensation of enormous pride of having been part of the team that made this possible. I went home a very happy trainer of financial literacy. One could see that the strategy of the BearingPoint team had worked to accomplish the first stage of intentions of the Pakistan State Bank's mandate for financial inclusion. Now, all that was needed was to launch the boat. Another person who needs introducing is missing today. He has a meeting with the savings and loan officer that he could not change. His name is Siku. Siku was not always as happy as he looks here. When I first met Siku and his family a few months ago, they were very indebted. Siku's household consisted of himself, his children, his wife, his elderly father, his unmarried sister, his debts, and his depression about not knowing what to do about living insecurely day to day. The roof needed repair, his father needed medicine, the children's school fees were overdue, his sister needed money to be married. As a farmer, he needed money for land preparation, seeds, fertilizers, and help with the harvest. The uncertainty of irregular income caused tension in the household. However, as luck would have it, Siku had a friend, Salim, who knew of Siku's situation and offered to share with Siku the money management ideas he had learned from a local association training. How Siku learns to manage his family money is the theme of this campaign. And why Siku's story? We who worked on this training weren't sure until the very last afternoon of the training when participants were asked to give comments about the course. An older man in the back of the room raised his hand and said, "Siku's story is everyone's story." Although the program beneficiaries are defined as being adults who are responsible for financial management in the household workforce, particularly the low-income strata, one member of the team wrote in a memo that because of the work we were doing, he had realized that financial literacy training is not just for the poor. It's for all of us. So why is Siku so happy? What did Siku and his family gain? What were the objectives of this program? By rolling out this pilot phase, what are the benefits to the participants? What are the goals and objectives? How to budget, build savings, manage debt. Siku became aware of innovative and new ways to access financial services. He saw his savings grow and learned to use his account. His self-esteem and confidence grew. He gradually, over time, gained an ability to demand quality financial products and services. The global vision under which this project falls is the vision of everyone having the opportunity to live a dignified life in an enabled environment. The environment of Pakistan has become enabled. There are now financial institutions and services available. But what does it mean, really, to be financially literate? The definition of financial literacy can best be explained by comparing it to be able to drive a car. A car, with all its benefits and enhancements of quality of life, is still a dangerous animal. People get killed every day all over the world in cars as drivers and as passengers. So too is the current global financial system a life-enhancing but dangerous animal. We only need to watch Europe imploding financially in on itself under the weight of misused government borrowing or the rising rate of poverty in the United States from misused credit, both government and household level. In any strategy for financial inclusion, we must remember that the car into which we are inviting people to travel down the road to prosperity must be driven by well-trained drivers. Those who train people to drive must themselves be experienced drivers, alert to the pleasures and the dangers of the road. Financial inclusion includes the right to consumer protection. What better way to protect oneself than through being educated and aware of the dangers and the benefits of using a financial system to get where you want to go? BearingPoint's approach was an iterative one. I chose that word because the definition of it is it generates a sequence of improving approximate solutions. In other words, the idea of returning the answers and asking again, have we got it right? Are we maintaining impartiality? Are we staying with the objectives? The program is designed to be applicable and to meet the objectives of the Improving Access to Financial Services Fund. It is designed to be affordable, to be cost-effective. It is designed to be sustainable and to have developed deliverables that will become the foundation of the next level of the program, including the institutionalization phase. The program is designed to be target-specific and capture adults who are responsible for financial management in the household and workforce, and the children who will be part of that household. BearingPoint used research using survey data collection methods and analysis was conducted to confirm the approach to the project and to inform the identification of target segments, create a customized relevant curriculum, perform a pilot for curriculum effectiveness, to help with leveraging networks for beneficiary outreach. BearingPoint knew the importance of learning from other programs. In India, the Philippines, Visa, Citibank were all important components for looking for ideas that work, to stay away from ideas that don't. An important one was the Reserve Bank of India has undertaken a project called Project Financial Literacy. It is multimodal and multilingual. It utilizes interactive strategies like stalls and exhibitions, visits to schools, colleges. It produced comic books and a short film on the subject. The Philippine government, through the National Anti-Poverty Commission and the National Credit Council, with support from the Asian Development Bank, developed a national financial literacy program that makes use of the non-formal system of education, targeting college students preparing for their work phase, entrepreneurs, young professionals. Pakistan joins the growing list of countries which have implemented financial literacy programs: Sri Lanka, Bolivia, Kuwait, Russia, South Africa, just to mention a few. Decisions taken by BearingPoint were based on cost-effective delivery, based on the analysis of the research. They were very careful about the deliverables being able to be developed with an eye on phase 2, and we tested the pilot course. Proposed interventions. Learning from other national programs, the team is proposing the use of street theater, using entertainment modes to deliver messages through stories. Learning to harness the potential of new communication technology, no longer just e-learning, but now there is M-learning on mobiles. And also harnessing the growing awareness of corporate social responsibility, where companies provide financial education for their employees. Challenges of sustainability. What we know about education and learning. How long does it take to change a habit? It's not easy to change habits and behaviors, especially when it comes to money. Research shows that learning which causes behavior change has to be repetitive and relevant over time. We learn by doing, by listening, by watching, by being motivated and engaged. We know the cheapest way to deliver messages is by radio, but there's no way to evaluate. We know that the most expensive way to deliver training is face-to-face. We now know that an effective way is e-learning and that access is becoming rapidly less of a barrier. We know that supplying participants with one 8-hour session is only a beginning to motivate people to understand why and how taking care of your money can produce results towards financial security. We must be alert to ways to embed financial literacy thinking into the culture of work. Financial Times and Citibank sponsor a global financial education conference. This year it was in Jakarta in December. I attended. Some of their conclusions is that no one has the provision and delivery of financial education right yet. The results are not yet in about whether or how much this makes to helping people get out of poverty. Many microfinance institutions at this conference were very clear that they cannot afford to give financial education, that there is no viable business model, and that all stakeholders must join together. The suggestion was made that financial literacy cannot be a separate entity. It needs to be mainstreamed into projects, just like gender 15 years ago was mainstreamed into development projects. There's a bit of a hypocrisy about microfinance staff that they don't walk the talk. Besides putting the emphasis on the clients, there needs to be staff education. We need to learn how to put our money to work in productive uses and not just consumer. Those of you who might remember the UK riots last summer, where London was ravaged by people throwing anything they could at window stores, when they caught some of the youth and said, "Why are you doing this? Why is all this stealing going on?" The youth said, "You show us the goods, but you don't give us the way to get them." We need to lead by example. One of the things that someone at that conference did was actually ask the audience, who keeps a written budget themselves in the room? There were about 3 hands that went up at that time. So, what BearingPoint is doing is if we were to ask you about your budget, what kind of an example do you have in your household? Have you got one to show? They're going to have a website that's going to have more information on that. To conclude, in terms of working towards the vision of a dignified life for all, we must remind ourselves that financial inclusion is a necessary but not sufficient piece of the development pie, but it is a part of the pie that underpins the rest of the pie. The tracks of development move on finance, and we all must be educated. Inshallah, we will do that. Thank you.